When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him. I understand him. I want to make something clear. I would still kick the living fuck.
Andrew Tate fiercely criticized Jake Paul, comparing him to a bulldozer demolishing a sandcastle, and unapologetically called him out for being, in his words, an unmistakable and absolute jerk.
He's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
Tate accused Jake of disrespecting boxing, a sport cherished by billions and tarnishing its reputation. But Jake didn't stop there. He dragged a living legend, Mike Tyson, into his circus of a fight. By doing so, Jake not only ruined the event, but also disrespected Tyson's legacy, turning a celebrated icon into part of his spectacle.
I'm not some washed-up UFC fighter. I'm not smaller than him. I would beat the living shit out of him. And if he wants to fight, I'll fight him any day of the week, and I'll fucking wreck him.
All for what? More clicks on Instagram? Andrew isn't having any of it. He squarely blamed Jake for this debacle, calling it an embarrassment to combat sports and a blatant insult to Tyson's storied career. The worst part, Jake shows no remorse, flaunting shamelessness at its peak. Andrew refuses to stay silent, making it clear he's outraged by Jake's reckless disregard for the sport and its legends.
I do understand what he's doing. I understand that he is very, very smart, even with his marketing angle. I'm just a YouTuber. You're not just a YouTuber. You're a full-grown man with the best coaches in the world who's dedicated his life to learning how to box for years. You know how to box. You're not a complete amateur. You know how to box very well. 3, 4, 5 years of training combat sports. You can box. The guy's not a jackass.
Andrew Tate tore into Jake Paul on live TV, delivering a takedown that felt long overdue. Jake, the self-proclaimed savior of boxing, boasts a questionable 6-1 record, a fan base more enthusiastic about his TikToks than his punches, and an ego big enough to claim he's revolutionized the sport. Enter Andrew Tate. 76 professional kickboxing wins, 23 knockouts, and 0 tolerance for Jake's YouTube boxing antics. Tate didn't hold back, making it clear that if this were real boxing and not Jake's social media playground, he wouldn't even make it past tryouts. The gloves are off, and Andrew's not pulling punches.
A video that called out Jake Paul.
$3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. You know my name, Andrew Tate. I will fight you any day, anytime. Let's fucking go. If I were to fight Jake Paul, I would take it completely seriously as a real fight, and I'd whoop his ass. I'd beat him. Jake, everyone thinks he's just a...
Jake's latest stunt, dragging a 58-year-old Mike Tyson out of retirement for a so-called fight, is beyond disrespectful. Tyson is a legend, a boxing Hall of Famer who's earned his retirement, yet Jake saw fit to slap his name on a pay-per-view event and call it a fight. Andrew Tate didn't mince words, labeling the spectacle exactly what it is: a joke, and not a funny one. This isn't boxing. It's a content creator's ego trip disguised as a sport. Tate is here to call it out and set the record straight, refusing to let this circus continue unchecked.
He is not just a YouTuber. He is a young man training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia.
When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him. I understand.
Tate, a fighter with over a decade of experience against elite athletes, called Jake out for padding his record with opponents who either have no business in the ring or are well past their prime. Let's recap Jake's so-called greatest hits: a YouTuber, a retired basketball player, and a lineup of former MMA fighters with boxing skills as dull as a butter knife. And who could forget the Mike Tyson debacle? If Jake put half as much effort into real training as he does into cherry-picking opponents, he might earn some respect. But instead, here we are.
Him because he is a very fortunate young man. And he's fortunate because he's extremely rich, because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
When Andrew Tate called Jake Paul a clown, it wasn't just trash talk. It was a cold, hard fact. Jake is like the guy who shows up to a costume party in a suit and calls himself James Bond. He's playing dress up, and it's painfully obvious. Tate's challenge to Jake was straightforward. Drop the gimmicks, step into the ring with a real fighter, and prove there's more to you than flashy Instagram captions. Tate has spent years mastering his craft, battling opponents who could actually punch back. Meanwhile, Jake has been busy promoting himself on social media and flexing on TikTok. He's the guy who skips practice but still wants to be team captain. If these two ever meet in the ring, Tate won't just win. He'll dismantle Jake in front of his own fan base. And honestly, it'll be the reality check Jake's been dodging for far too long.
Still whoop his ass. but I would whoop his ass. But he wouldn't take a fight against me because when he loses, I'm not nearly on his level of fame, right? So like he lost to who? Whereas if he loses to Conor McGregor, it's no big deal. Well, he lost to Conor McGregor, who cares, right? That's what it's about. But yeah,
It's still
I
good for him.
Yeah, it's my.
When Andrew Tate called Jake Paul a clown, it wasn't just trash talk. It was a cold, hard fact. Jake is like the guy who shows up to a costume party in a suit and calls himself James Bond. He's playing dress up, and it's painfully obvious. Tate's challenge to Jake was straightforward. Drop the gimmicks, step into the ring with a real fighter, and prove there's more to you than flashy Instagram captions. Tate has spent years mastering his craft, battling opponents who could actually punch back. Meanwhile, Jake has been busy promoting himself on social media and flexing on TikTok. He's the guy who skips practice but still wants to be team captain. If these two ever meet in the ring, Tate won't just win. He'll dismantle Jake in front of his own fan base. And honestly, it'll be the reality check Jake's been dodging for far too long.
I'm ready. Come on. Fight. Hey, let's go fight. Hey, fight. Hey, go fight. Hey, hey, work. Hey, work. Hey, work. Hey, work. Hey, work. Work. Hey, work.
Andrew Tate has always emphasized that Mike Tyson is more than just a name in boxing. He's a living legend and an icon who shaped the sport. Tate respects Tyson the way true fighters should, with honor, not opportunism. For Tate, Tyson isn't a PR stunt or a hashtag moment. He openly calls Tyson one of the greatest. Unlike Jake Paul, Tate wouldn't stoop to dragging Tyson into a sham fight just to boost social media numbers. The difference is clear. Tate values legacy, while Jake values clicks. For Tate, respect for the sport and its legends always comes first.
Fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. Sorry, Tristan Tate is a weak link.
I say let's
He got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
A MMA
10
double
million,
tag team match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight.
Let's talk about Jake Paul for a second, the guy who thought fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson was a brilliant career move. Fighting might be too strong a word. Exploiting is more accurate. Jake didn't see Tyson as a legend who's earned his rest. He sought a shortcut to stay in the headlines. Worse, Jake genuinely believed this would make him look like a real boxer. Andrew Tate, however, views Tyson as someone whose legacy should be protected, not paraded around for cheap cash grabs. Tate didn't mince words, calling out Jake for what this fight really was, a desperate attempt to cling to relevance. And honestly, he's spot on. Even Tyson, who's too classy to outright roast Jake, has hinted at the massive gap between people like Tate and Jake. Tyson respects figures like Tate because, like him, they've earned their place through years of hard work, taking hits and proving themselves as real fighters. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is all antics, a walking billboard for his next viral moment. The difference is glaring. Tate operates with dignity, upholding the integrity of the sport. Jake operates like a social media sideshow, and Tyson's likely rolling his eyes at the circus.
There's one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men we are.
Respect is everything in combat sports. It's what separates legends from frauds. Andrew Tate's respect for Mike Tyson isn't just lip service. It's the kind of honor that comes from understanding the grind, sacrifices, and legacy of a true fighter. Jake Paul, on the other hand, wouldn't recognize respect if it hit him with a boxing glove. His entire career is built on cherry-picking opponents who either don't box for a living or are well past their prime. It's not just embarrassing. It's an insult to the sport and to the athletes who dedicate their lives to it. The public's reaction to Jake Paul's stunt was brutal, and rightfully so. Fans and analysts saw right through his antics. Fighting a 58-year-old Tyson wasn't a bold career move. It was a blatant cash grab, plain and simple. People were outraged, not just at the disrespect to Tyson, but at the sheer audacity of Jake thinking this would somehow earn him respect in the boxing world. The combat sports community has had enough of the smoke and mirrors, practically begging Andrew Tate to step in and give Jake the reality check he's been dodging. Let's not pretend Jake Paul doesn't know exactly what he's doing. He's been avoiding real fighters for years, carefully curating his opponents to build a fake legacy. But Andrew Tate isn't some retired MMA guy looking for a payday. He's a former kickboxing world champion with 76 wins and a level of experience Jake can only dream of. If these two ever meet in the ring, it won't be a fight, it'll be a dismantling. Tate will tear through Jake like a buzzsaw through cardboard, and everyone knows it, including Jake. The media has been having a field day with the possibility of this fight, and the internet is buzzing with memes, debates, and predictions. Social media is lighting up with people begging Tate to shut Jake down once and for all. For Tate, it's a chance to show the world what a real fighter looks like. For Jake, it's a chance to prove he's more than just a glorified YouTuber. But let's be honest, he's not.